Here are our solutions to quiz 2 from Math 65. We're given a system of linear equations. Actually, I think we're given the same system twice and asked to solve it, find the solution. The difference is that in part 1, we're asked to use the substitution method, but in part 2, we're asked to use the equation addition method or elimination method, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let's do it. So using the substitution method, what you want to do is you want to look at your two equations and pick one of the two variables in one of those two equations that would be easy to solve for. So you have a choice. You can solve for this x, this y, or this x. I think the easiest would be to solve for this x because the coefficient on it is 1. So what I'm going to do is take the second equation, the 4y plus x minus 2 equals 0, and I'm going to solve it for x. So I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides, and then I'm going to add 2 to both sides and get that x equals negative 4y plus 2. And then what you do is you take your other equation, 2x plus 3y equals negative 1. But instead of writing the letter x in 2x, I can rewrite negative 4y plus 2 because I just figured out that x is equal to negative 4y plus 2. So instead of 2x, I got 2 times negative 4y plus 2. And then the rest of this stuff, plus 3y is equal to negative 1. And then what you want to do is combine like terms. You only have one variable now, y. So you want to solve for it. You want to isolate that y. And the way you do that, well, the first step in doing that is getting rid of these parentheses. 2 times negative 4y is negative 8y. 2 times 2 is 4. Now I can combine like terms. Negative 8y and positive 3y nets out to negative 5y. And then if I subtract 4 from both sides, I get negative 5y equals negative 5. I don't want negative 5y isolated, I want y isolated, so divide both sides by negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is just positive 1. What I get is that the y coordinate of my solution is 1. So now what I can do is I can go up here where I figured out that I solved for x in terms of y. So I knew that x was equal to negative 4 times y plus 2. But down below, I figured out that y is equal to 1. Right here, I figured out y was 1. So instead of writing y here, I can write 1. And so now what I can do is figure out what x is. Negative 4 times 1, just negative 4. Plus 2. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. What I now have is my solution that when x equals negative 2, y equals 1. That's my solution to this system of linear equations. That will satisfy both of these equations at the same time. Now that I have the answer, I want to try to recreate that. I want to get the same answer down here. I just want to get it using a different method. The method is equation addition. In order to add these equations up, I want them to be lined up. So what I mean by that is I got 2x plus 3y equals negative 1. I got my x's, my y's, and equal sign, and then my numbers. Sure, that'll work as like my template. And if you take that other equation, 4y plus x minus 2 equals 0, it's not lined up like this. However, I could rewrite it. Oh, how about I'll just go straight over here. Take this guy and say, instead of 4y plus x, I could say x plus 4y. And then instead of minus 2 equals 0, I could add 2 to both sides of the equation to get it here. And what you'll see, the advantage of this form is now things are all lined up. It's lined up very nicely. So I can add the equations together. However, if I add them together right now, it won't do me any good. The purpose in adding the equations is you want to cancel out one of the variables. So one way you could get rid of either the x or the y is if we multiply this bottom equation here by negative 2. So what I'm saying is instead of 1x, I got negative 2x. Instead of 4y, I got negative 8y. And instead of 2, I got negative 4. And you leave the top equation alone, 2x plus 3y equals negative 1. Then when I add these two equations together here, 2x and negative 2x, those will cancel out. I won't be left with any x's. 3y and negative 8y, that gets me negative 5y. Negative 1 and negative 4 It gives me -5. And now if I divide both sides by -5, I get y equals 1, which I had seen earlier up here. To finish up this problem, you want to take that y equals 1 and plug it into one of your equations here. So I had x plus 4y equals 2. Maybe I'll just drop that straight down. X plus 4y equals 2. But I just figured out that y is equal to 1. So instead of writing y, I can write 1. So I got that x plus 4 equals 2. In other words, x equals -2 if you subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. So I get my solution. X is -2, y equals 1, which hopefully will be the exact same thing I got up here. See, x equals -2, y equals 1. Good. So that makes me feel pretty confident in my answer. So that's the end of this quiz.